All right. Well, welcome everybody. I am so grateful that Rhonda said yes to this idea. It was very last minute. I want you guys to know that. And sometimes that's just how we roll. So this is our Friday Lunch and Learn. And we wanted to come and share a little bit of information with all of you about this master cleanse. And Brian and our daughter Reagan and I are just on the tail end of it. Yesterday was actually the 10th day, but as you can see, our lemon bowl is not empty yet. And so we've decided to continue on for day 11 or until the lemons are gone. So if anyone wants to come grab a lemon, I can end this. No, but we're feeling really good. And so as I was just saying to Sherry right before we got started, I would have never known about the Master Cleanse, or probably any cleanse for that matter, if it hadn't been due to my association with people, mostly in Young Living, that were health and wellness minded, that could teach me about the benefits of cleanses for my body. So I think that it's our turn to return the favor. Rhonda has a very unique background in natural health and wellness that makes her far, far more of an expert than us. But we've done this cleanse a lot of times. So as far as the practicality of like how to step through it, we can tell you from a normal person's perspective what you might expect. So you're going to get kind of both of it. So Rhonda, do you want to introduce yourself in case anybody here hasn't met you yet?
Well, hi, I'm Rhonda Favano, and I'm Skylar's friend. So therefore, I get to be here with you today. So I feel so honored.
Absolutely. And Rhonda and her husband Frank, and this is my husband Brian, we have had many, many fun times together, and Lord willing, we're looking forward to many more in the future. So yeah, I know. So
and Rhonda's right in the middle of the master cleanse as well.
She is. So is this day 3 for you, Rhonda? Or 5? I'm sorry, 5. Okay, way to go. Halfway mark. Excellent. And how are you feeling?
Today, good.
Excellent.
Usually for me, day 5 is like when you flip that switch.
Yeah.
That's typical for me.
Perfect.
So it works the same way for you guys.
Yeah. Usually I would say 3 or 4. This time was not as bad starting for me. The very first time I did it, I think my body went through many more withdrawals. And so now I don't know. I'm not going to say that we're totally clean in how we eat, but the withdrawal symptoms have been far less the more that we've done it. What would you say for you?
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know, like it's a good opportunity to just kind of reset everything. And, the first couple of days, maybe you're a little more hungry than it's like you're obviously not eating as much, and you just drink some more lemonade and the hunger goes away. And, after a while, you just kind of get into the flow of things, and it becomes a lot easier and more routine. Yeah. And it's simpler because you don't have to think about, what am I going to make for lunch? Or
We actually appreciate the fact that our daughter did it with us this time, because then we don't have to cook anything. We did not buy any groceries except for lemons and maple syrup for almost 2 weeks, which, just having that mental break is really nice because it allows you energy to focus on something different. So I'm a fan of that. So I want to start just a little bit. Some of you may be jumping on here and saying, okay, I've heard you guys talk about the Master Cleanse, but I don't exactly know what that means. So I'm going to share just a little bit out of this book. Here's my very first piece of advice. If you want to actually do the Master Cleanse, I strongly urge you to read the whole book. This one is by Tom Woloshyn, and it is called The Complete Master Cleanse. Just look for the lemon. And I'll get close so you can see his last name. Is that backwards? It probably is, but no, okay. And then The guy who actually started the concept of the Master Cleanse, his name is Stanley Burroughs. And he also has a little tiny book. It's like a pamphlet. And I have ordered that too, but I gave that one to my daughter. They're both the same concept as far as how to execute the actual cleanse. But this one goes into a lot more detail later in the book about things like VitaFlex, color therapy, using essential oils, all kinds of different things that can complement your whole cleanse, and coming off of it, how you can kind of keep supporting your body. So this is kind of interesting. There's even a section here about parasites, if parasite cleansing is one of the reasons that you decide to do it. So let's start by kind of talking just a little bit about why we would want to do this. I think the overarching reasons are that, like Brian said, we want to give our bodies an opportunity to rest. And as crazy as it sounds, drinking this lemonade mixture, which we will give you the recipe for in a moment, it truly lets your digestive system go on vacation. It does not have to work for 10 days or however long you do it. And when you allow that to happen, all of the energy and resources that would typically go into your digestive system get to work in other areas of your body. That is a huge bonus. So it says in here, the diminished burden on the digestive system frees up not only energy, but also enzymes, which can be utilized to heal the body. This is what puts the body into overdrive state that you experience while on the Master Cleanse. This is deep cleansing indeed, often an extraordinary experience that a few people find difficult to cope with. Some folks start a cleanse not believing they truly deserve to feel well, so they shut it down. They shut down that feeling that they go off and they eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This is a reminder that Brian has run marathons. I have not. But I will say that doing this cleanse for me is about 95% mental, and it's about 5% physical, because the actual act of making the lemonade and drinking the lemonade is very easy. But it's all up here. You have to be ready emotionally. So when we plan this, we usually look at the calendar to see what's coming up. Are there any really big events that might take us away from home, or, big family social gatherings? Clearly, this is a great time to cleanse because there's just not a lot of that happening at the moment.
And we wanted to be done by Thanksgiving.
And we did want to be done by Thanksgiving because we hope that we've got a kid or maybe 2 or 3 coming home, and we didn't want to serve lemonade for Thanksgiving. So they will appreciate that as well. So it is easier to do when you're close to home. I'll say that. I did travel a couple of times during this cleanse, and I just made up a couple of big, we've got these fantastic thermal stainless steel cups. Thank you, Janice Brendelin. These are our official cups of the cleanse. I'm glad that you're on here. But we just fill these, and they are adequate for taking on the road. I will say that the effectiveness of the enzymes in the lemon, it says in the book, ideally we're supposed to consume it within 10 minutes of when you cut these open, because that's when the enzymes are the most, I don't know what the word is, vibrant, medicinal, whatever, the most effective. So I recognize that when I'm traveling, if I drink a glass 4 hours after I've juiced it, it's probably not the prime, but I got through the day, so it worked okay.
You need to take it with you. These cups work really well because you can put a lid on it and guys keeping it kind of a dark container or something like that to preserve the enzymes a little bit longer.
Good point. Okay, one other byproduct of the cleanse is feeling more relaxed and calm. It says that the body becomes less rigid, and together, these two effects add up to a net energy gain. So I know that many people I have talked to, and Rhonda, I want to hear your experiences with this too. They say, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine going 10 days without eating food. Like, how are you even standing upright? How do you have any energy? And the weird thing is that as this cleanse goes on, my energy level goes up. And it's the most bizarre thing. But I started doing Pilates this week. I've been walking. I've been walking a lot anyway, but continuing to walk. And I would attest to the more flexibility and less rigid. I had never really noticed that before. We should test your flexibility this week. Hey?
It actually becomes really obvious to me, like at the gym, you know, we do the stretching warm up at the beginning of class, and I realize, oh, my toes are a long ways away, you know, for even trying to touch them or the floor. And as I go through the cleanse, it's like so much of the inflammation in my body just goes away, and I don't even realize that it's there until it's gone. And it's suddenly like this night and day difference of, oh yeah, my knees don't crack, and you know, like I can reach the floor a lot easier. I can tie my shoes easier,
and that's saying something, because Brian, while he's very strong and athletic, flexibility has never been his strong suit. So to notice that is kind of a huge thing. Rhonda, what have you experienced as far as energy changes and flexibility and that sort of thing?
I think the biggest thing for me is usually by day 5, I have more energy. I have total mental clarity. And the longer that I do this, the more clarity I have and the more grounded I become. So for me, it is not just a physical experience, but there's a spiritual component to that. The longest that I have done it is 30 days.
Wow.
And I really didn't want to stop. Like, I felt so good at that point that I just wanted to continue to feel that good all the time. And I don't feel that good all the time when I'm eating. And so even attempting to eat a clean diet, you know, it's still, they're just still things that we're getting. And plus the real, like you were talking about earlier, Skyla, you know, one of the huge benefits of this is that we are not, the digestive tract is getting a rest, and it takes more energy in our body to digest our food than to do anything else. So all of our energy, literally, if we're eating all day long, guess what the body's doing? It's working really hard all day just trying to digest the food. So it can't focus on healing. It can't focus on all those other things that we need to happen. So
excellent points.
But it is a mental game. You know, that's what I always tell people. Like, if you're not ready here mentally, you won't do it. You really have to get into that mindset of, I'm going to do this, and these are the reasons, and this is my goal, because I'm going to tell you, people, you will feel hungry. And so you can drink more lemonade. And I'll tell you, I may be the only one, but I figured out like 2 years ago now that I was an emotional eater. And if somebody said, Rhonda, are you an emotional eater? I would say, heck no freaking way. But I realized when I was doing a sugar fast that I did really well until we started doing taxes.
Oh.
And it was really stressful. And what I suddenly found myself craving was some kind of comfort food, and my comfort food are sweets. So I was like, oh my gosh, you are an emotional eater. Like, you are. So it's really an emotional thing. I said to Frank, I don't know, maybe on day 3, I don't think it was yesterday, but maybe on day 3, I'm like, I'm not really hungry. And honestly, I really, and until yesterday, I really wasn't hungry. But I just wanted to eat something. You know, it's not about being hungry for me. It wasn't. It was about, there's that emotional attachment you know, that satisfaction of chewing that food and all that. So people, that's a real thing, and you just have to be prepared for that.
I remember the very first time, I think it was, that I did the cleanse. The thing that drove me crazy in about day 6, day 7 was that I missed chewing, like the literal act. And there is something prehistoric wired in our brain that we need to chew, I think, for survival, because that means we're getting nourishment. I was going crazy. I wanted to go in the backyard and get a stick just to chew on it because I needed to run my jaws. It was the most bizarre thing. But Rhonda, I agree with you with the, like, just kind of wanting to eat out of boredom almost. We have noticed many times that one of us, our daughter a lot in this, because this is her first time, will go to the refrigerator and just open and just gaze. And there's not a lot in there, trust me, but just look. And she's like, I just want to eat something. Not that I'm hungry, but like I'm bored. And that feels like what I should fill the void with. So, man, I don't know what the answer is to disengage that emotional component to eating, but I think it is a strong impulse for all of us. Well, a lot of us. I'm not going to say all of us. Maybe you don't eat emotionally, but
we've had like a bowl of nuts sitting on the table here for a long time, and we just kind of snack on them. And Reagan and I are doing homeschool stuff there, and so it's like, while you're doing that problem, I feel like I want to just take one of these and eat it for no reason other than it's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, removing them made things so much better.
I fed them to the squirrels. No. Okay. Let's go on to another section here where it talks about the benefits of the cleanse. So I'm just going to read down. There is a long list here. So if any of these things are things that you're looking to improve in your body, tune in, because this might be good for you. Let's see, the author says, over my many years of practice, people have reported myriad benefits that have come to them during or after doing a master cleanse. To give only the principal ones, people listed better sleep, more energy, clarity of mind, we've certainly attested to that, a positive outlook, greater flexibility, weight loss, freedom from addictions, increased strength, swelling and pain diminished, hair loss, meaning it didn't start, but it stopped. Skin improves, allergies reduced, and probably many more that haven't been reported. He reiterates it is important to mentally prepare. Be aware that whenever people start a master cleanse on a whim, they tend to go off the master cleanse on a whim. So you do need to be like locked in, get your family's support, adjust your schedule, all of that stuff. And do not let others discourage you. That kind of mental strength is important. I have had a few people over the years, Rhonda, I'd love to hear if you've had some naysayers, but try to convince me that what I'm doing is not safe and that it is not wise, and it communicates the wrong message about our relationship with food and how we take care of our bodies and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, listen, I am not going to get into your refrigerator and criticize you about what you're consuming. I jolly well know what is best for my body, and I expect each of you do for your own. But I just think it's funny when someone is doing something positive, almost invariably, there's going to be one little person out there that wants to bring you down. And we just need to be prepared and be convicted in our convictions, I guess. So
also, I think, we get hung up on like, what's the scale say, as if that is the metric and the only metric that matters. And I've found when I've been on the cleanse, it's like, oh yeah, I do I lose a lot of weight, like I don't know, maybe 2 pounds a day or something while I'm doing it. But as soon as I come back off, I actually gain probably about half of that right back. And it's like what my body's retaining. If my body's retaining water, which is probably interesting concept to think about. It's like, oh, all I'm just drinking stuff, and I'm not retaining water. When I go back to eating, that's when I am retaining water. But it adjusts your metabolism while you do it too. So when you come off, you probably don't even need to eat as much food as you did before. So, I don't want to say it's counterintuitive, but if weight loss is the only thing you're looking for, you're probably missing out on most of the other real benefits. Like, that's a nice side effect, but it's probably not the key thing to be focused on. Just a thought there.
Very good. So Rhonda, did you happen to remember the name of that book?
Inner Transformations?
Yes, thank you. Have you read that one, or is that?
Yes.
Can you highlight that for everybody?
Well, the book goes through the different seasons and how it works best for our body to cleanse in particular seasons. So she actually incorporates Young Living products. So she tells you which season, which time of the year to do which cleanse, and walks you through doing it and why to do it. I think it's a great book. I think it's very empowering.
Yeah, I do too.
May I just add something to what Brian said, because I totally agree with the weight loss thing. Like, that is a side effect for a lot of people. However, I have seen people that I've worked with that are very sick and they're very thin. And so some of those people are the people that are afraid to use it because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to lose any more weight. And they actually begin to put weight on, or as soon as they get off of the cleanse, because it's reset their metabolism and because they're sick and their body is healing. So they actually begin to get their weight back up to a normal weight, is what I'm trying to say. So when people tell me that, I'm like, that is not, there's so many cases of when Stanley Burroughs was, chronicling the, the cases, and he was working with people with this cleanse that had been sent home to die, that the medical world said, there's no hope. There's nothing else we can do for you. And literally they would get on the master cleanse. And I've read about people being on the master cleanse for a year and they survived. So yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, there's several good testimonies in the book there that are worth reading. So the book itself is worth reading.
Yeah, just for those stories.
But it's just a good opportunity. I think of it for myself as like a reset, where it's like, okay, when I come off the cleanse, I don't want to just go back to eating what I was eating before if that wasn't what I should be eating. It's like, okay, 10 days, that's enough to kind of kick the sugar habit and cravings and the caffeine and those things. So it's like, okay, well, if I don't have those when I come back off, maybe that's a good opportunity to start something new. And that's where I think, the real mental challenges, because when you're on the cleanse, it's like you don't have to think about what to eat. It's like there's only one thing to eat. It's lemonade. And so when you come off, that's when you have to think like, okay, so what am I going to replace the bad things with those good things now? So that's a good opportunity to just kind of reset your whole nutrition and your everything that you're eating and your plan and all that.
Awesome. So do you guys have any questions up to this point? Or shall we dive into like what the actual recipe is and that sort of thing? Are you ready for that?
Yeah, why don't you do the specifics and then we can ask questions afterwards.
Excellent.
Could I interject a real quick question?
Absolutely.
The book that she mentioned, Inner Transformations, do you know who that author is? I am big on getting the books and reading the books.
I bet we can find it. Sherry just got up from her chair. I wonder if she might already have it. We'll find out before we're done, Laura.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. So there's, I'm just going to share some of the things that it mentions here in the book. And I know that there can be adaptions to that. Excuse me. So I think Rhonda has tweaked a few things to fit her body and her life. So we want to definitely hear about those too, Rhonda. But in the section here that talks about how to specifically do the cleanse. Oh, thank you for the David and Leanne Deerdruff or Deerdruff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I-
Thank you.
I thought that was it. I was looking on Amazon. I
Yep.
thought that must be it. Thank you very much.
That is the
Do
one.
you recommend the first edition or the second, or does it make a difference?
I think I have only seen the first edition. I don't know. I would think they're pretty similar, but
Okay,
Rhonda,
thank
do you
you.
have? Okay. Yeah, I would bet they're pretty similar. Okay. So how to do the master cleanse. First step, you must read this book to the end. It's actually in the instructions, okay? Make notes or highlight steps or cautions or tips as you feel helpful. I am amused to recall Stanley Burroughs would often say something that technical support people still tell their frustrated customers, and he has in capital letters, WAEFFTI, which is an acronym for when all else fails, follow the instructions.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So gather all of the ingredients, step one, and that would be lemons, organic, if possible, cayenne pepper. Do you want to grab the maple syrup? The highest grade maple syrup that you can get. Now some of the maple syrup has changed since, like the way that the USDA grades it has changed since this book was printed. But we typically go to Costco and get it. We grabbed this one at Hy-Vee, but it's a grade A dark maple syrup. So
pure maple syrup,
pure,
not like Aunt Jemima.
Aunt Jemima can't come to play at this party. Right on. And then you are also going to need a laxative tea. We use the Smooth Move. And the permitted, I guess, would you call it the snack? The other tea that they say is okay if you need to switch things up during the day is organic peppermint tea. So we usually have some of that. Sometimes we have it in the afternoon or the evening. Sometimes
It's a good thing to drink even when you're not doing
it. Is, yeah, helps the stomach. So gather your ingredients. Oh, and you get the Redmond salt. Then the night before you start, you're to take an herbal laxative. So that would be a cup of tea. If you wanted to use this one, I know some people have used Comfort Tone or something like that and just kind of prepped their body. You just want to loosen up everything that's in the colon and in the digestive system to encourage it to move. The next morning, it says to repeat the laxative. We have not done that in the morning, have we? This is what we've done, which is not my favorite part. Drink an internal saltwater bath. So this is where you fill 2 quarts, right? 2 quarts of warm water, almost like hot tea, but not quite. And you're going to put 2 teaspoons of real sea salt into it.
1 quart.
1 quart. Sorry. Okay. 1 quart. Don't drink 2. You'll hate me. 1 quart of water. That's why it's one of those canning jars.
Yeah.
2 teaspoons of real salt. So we have recently been educated a little further on salt, and apparently Redmond is absolutely excellent. Maybe because it comes from the Great Salt Lakes in Utah. I don't know, but it is supposed to not have as many additives as some of our Himalayan pink salt. So you can get this in fine, like you can sprinkle it, or you can get the rock salt, and it comes with a little grinder on top, and there are refillable pouches. So I only had to buy one of these, and then you can refill it with bags, which is kind of nice. So so very first thing in the morning, do that internal saltwater bath. Mentally, it was very, very difficult for me to do that until we came upon the realization that you just have to tell yourself it's like drinking broth. And as soon as I told myself I'm just sipping on broth, then I could do it. But before, to drink warm salt water,
I think she's frozen.
I think so too.
Hopefully she'll be back in a minute.
Sorry, hi. What kind of salt was she saying again? Because I actually it came to my mind about the Himalaya pink salt before she said it. What kind of salt did she say again? I don't remember.
But yeah, you don't want to use just table salt ever. Like, go through that trash. You have it at your house.
No. I have the Himalaya pink salt, but she's saying Redmond is better than the pink salt.
She said that she's read something or come across some research recently that she believes it's a better brand. So, but if you can't find it, use the Himalayan. Just don't use table salt. I said none of us should be using that.
How about sea salt? Is that the same as table salt?
You really want it to be pink.
Okay.
So
I have to do some research. That'll be another call. Salt call.
Yeah. You really want it to be pink because of the minerals. That way, you know that the minerals are there. Just like she was talking about the maple syrup in the books, you're going to read that it talks about grade B maple syrup, but in the US, they've now changed it, and it typically is grade A. So you just have to watch. But I actually use, sometimes this time I'm using organic raw blue agave. So that's an option as well. If you happen to be diabetic, you want to use blackstrap molasses. Okay.
That's interesting because my son is diabetic, but the only sweet that he uses, even more than honey, he will use maple syrup. He can eat maple syrup on his, with his breakfast and everything, and it causes absolutely no side effects to him. It doesn't affect his sugar.
That's excellent. Good. I will turn it back over to Skylar and Brian.
okay, thank you. Sorry, now it's our turn to unmute. Wi-Fi is a beautiful thing. Okay, so we've started the night before with the herbal tea. We've done the saltwater flush. And now we're going to start drinking the lemonade, and it encourages us to drink anywhere from 6 to 12 glasses of lemonade per day. So I thought we would just show you really quick. We'll see if you can see this. We use one of these hand presses. It's really simple. It's easy to rinse off. You don't need a big machine at all. Any way you can squeeze that juice is awesome. So let's see here. We've got our glass. I usually do in one of these glasses, I usually do a half a lemon. So we typically make 2 glasses at a time.
You're going to find different sized lemons. So a lot of the organic lemons are actually much smaller.
They are.
And they're, I don't know, maybe about the size of 2 golf balls or something like that.
I had a grocery fail the other night and ended up at a store that had no organic lemons. So we're living on the edge through the end of this cleanse. Whoops, I'm only going to do 1. Okay.
So it should be 2
teaspoons. Okay. So half of a lemon is roughly that. Okay. Then you need 1/10 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. and
Organic.
My days of measuring cayenne pepper are over because that's just too little. So I sprinkle about 3 times or so. I kind of go off the color at this point. And then 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. Did I just say teaspoons? I'm sorry, 2 tablespoons, the big ones.
2 tablespoons of the lemon juice as well.
Oh, I'm saying all the wrong words. That's why you have to read the book, okay? Okay, and then I like to mix that up. We have been using our little Young Living Hydrogize thing. I know that I don't think these are available anymore, so do not worry about that. But it is kind of a cool thing in that it adds extra hydrogen to your water, which helps your cells.
I think the book even talks about that.
It might. So then I'm just going to come over here to the Berkey. It is very, very important that you use good filtered water. And there is a section in the book about water quality. Okay, so you do want to make sure that it's well mixed, because if you get that cayenne pepper floating on the top, just take our word for it, you're going to regret that. And then you just enjoy it. Okay, it's got a little kick, but it's not unpleasant at all. It has a much more predominant lemon flavor than it does cayenne pepper, but that cayenne is what's cleaning you.
A nice mix of sweet and sour.
It is.
It's actually tastes really good. Like I would drink it anyway if it was just to drink.
Yeah. So you're going to do 6 to 12 of these every day. Drink as much as you need to. Make sure that you get at least 6 though, because if you forget, that's when you can start getting lightheaded, and your body needs that nourishment. So you want to make sure to stay on top of that.
You know, like some people will do like a water fast where you're not getting any calories. And so I did the math on this. And if I take the 2, the big spoons, teaspoons, tablespoons.
We know how to cook. All of a sudden, we don't know the right words.
Yeah. But if I take 2 of those and multiply it out, I calculated I was getting about 1,440 calories a day. So just to give you some ballpark of, and that it's different of how many you get, but for me, I was calculating out to be about 1,440.
Perfect. Okay, Rhonda, do you want to share some of the tweaks that you have made to work for you?
Yes, I actually, and it depends really on your blood type. I find I'm an O blood type. And so when you're reading even reference guides and supplement guides, you'll see special things about O blood types.
You're special.
I'm very special. And I'm a negative, add that to the mix. So I'm very, very special. But O blood types tend to have more circulatory challenges and blood sugar challenges. So one of the things that I have learned to do is I take, well, I've been using some cassia now, but like Ocotea under the tongue. It's much milder than cassia, although I love cassia. So either one under the tongue helps to keep my blood sugar balanced. Because that's one of the things that an O blood type, sometimes when you're doing not just this, but other cleanses and things, your blood sugar will, kind of bottom out and you just don't feel quite as good. So that's one thing that I've done. I also incorporate Ningxia once a day while I'm doing the cleanse and mineral essence. And I just started doing that a few years ago because I feel better. I just intuitively thought, gee, Rhonda, you need to be doing mineral essence and Ningxia, which I do every day normally. And it made a big difference for me again in how I feel. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that. Mm-hmm. I just know for me that works. So I believe, I've done the time that I did 30 days of master cleanse. I did not incorporate Ningxia Red or the extra minerals, and I was fine. But like I said, intuitively, I just felt like I needed to do that. Rather than the herbal tea, I find that Comfort Tone works well for me. and I take that in the evening. So, to keep everything moving. I also use enzymes in between. Like I will take some detoxine a couple of times a day. And then before I go to bed, I actually take Life 9.
Okay.
So I'm repopulating the gut flora. So I'm doing some things, and there's mixed, you're going to read different things. Some people say don't do anything. And other people say, yeah, you can incorporate certain things. I would say pay attention to what your body tells you. If you muscle test it, whether or not that's the right thing for you. And if so, how much. But those are some things. And then I use oils. I mean, Ledum, Juvacleanse, oils for the liver specifically. You can encapsulate those. You can put them on topically. You do what you feel like doing. I do both because the liver is really so important for so many things. And it's just a great chance to work on further cleansing the liver. And then, of course, emotional oils, like release around the navel and things with the affirmations of I will lovingly and willingly release those things that no longer serve me. Things like that make a huge difference. And this time, you guys, we have parsley as an oil. And if you do a little research on parsley, that's a good one. I'd like to put that in my capsule with the Ledum.
Ooh, I had not thought about that, Rhonda. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so in terms of how to complete the cleanse, you're just going to keep making and drinking this for 10 days. We do the saltwater flush on day 1,
every third day.
Third.
1,
4,
4,
7,
10.
and 10. Okay, so you don't have to do the saltwater flush every day, but sprinkle that throughout. And then there is a suggested protocol for coming off the cleanse, because as Brian was talking about, you don't want to defeat yourself and go through all of this and then jump right back into, pizza and burgers, because your body is going to go, hang on a second. That's not what was promised.
You probably wouldn't feel very good,
And
to be
no,
honest.
you wouldn't feel good at all. So, there, not surprisingly, there's a whole section here on how to properly end the cleanse. And day 1 and day 2, let's see here. Yeah, there were 2 sections, but so they have a vegan and vegetarian method of coming off, and they have the everybody else plan. Okay, I'm going to share the every other else because that's where we fall into. But day 1, you're going to drink fresh squeezed orange juice all day. Drink several glasses of it, diluted with water if necessary. Day 2, drink fresh orange juice again throughout the day. Prepare a vegetable soup in the afternoon or when possible, and consume only the broth with a small amount of vegetables in it. Enjoy the soup for dinner. The soup is to be made from as many fresh vegetables as you can find. In the winter, when fresh vegetables are not as plentiful, the author says he likes to include a few frozen items such as peas or corn. Do not use meat or meat stock. Use dehydrated vegetable powders instead. Add spices and sea salt to taste. Do not overcook the vegetables until they are limp. You want as much good nourishment as possible. Day 3, when coming off the cleanse, continue to drink fresh orange juice in the morning and also have some during the day if you wish. Have vegetable soup for lunch, this time eating all the vegetables you have added to the soup. In the evening, eat a vegetable salad with a light dressing. And for the main course, enter some solid foods such as brown rice or quinoa with steamed vegetables, which will taste like heaven. And that is the truth. I remember every single time when we've come off this, just the smell of the vegetable soup cooking. Brian and I are both like hovering over the stove, like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing we've ever smelled. It's weird, but it's true. And then you have completed your master cleanse. You can expand your repertoire of foods to suit your palate, but choose wisely. So So in total, it takes, if you're going to do the 10-day cleanse, it takes about 13 days from start to back re-entry into normal food. So, and we've kind of run the gamut. We don't always come off of it perfectly. It depends on what's happening, but the idea, you do want to be gentle with your digestive system after it hasn't had food for 10 days, and kind of, at least for a day, treat it carefully, because you don't want you to mess it up.
And even then, sometimes it's kind of good to reintroduce some of those, I don't know, more questionable foods. A lot of people have issues that may even be undiagnosed with, whether it's dairy or wheat or eggs. And so sometimes introducing those back in, like one at a time, and just see like, how does your body respond to that when you're perhaps a little bit more in tune with
What's going
on.
Good point. And I highly recommend detoxing, foot baths during this, massage, chiropractic adjustments, like all of the things that help your body adapt to what's going on to further facilitate cleansing, I think is a great thing. So, all right. Is there anything else that you want to share?
You hit most everything.
Rhonda, how about you?
I would just say, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid. I always talk about cleansing and cleaning out your closet. So when we clean out that messy closet, the whole room gets messy before we're finished.
That's what we should do next.
When we get it all back in, all the junk thrown out and the good stuff is back, we feel, it's great. And that's what you have to think about. It's a short period of time. You can do anything for 10 days. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. And I will say this, that the mental strength that I gained the first time that I did it, I literally came off that cleanse thinking, holy cow, I just went 10 days without food. I literally can do anything. And it strengthened me up here as well. So if you're feeling like, a little, oh, I don't have any power, whatever, this is a great way to pour belief back into yourself that yes, I do have control over me, and we can do things together. So, and having a buddy is also really important. I know that there's a couple of larger Facebook groups specifically for this cleanse. Both of them were started by friends of ours in Young Living. But if you want to join one of those, reach out to Rhonda or I, and we can add you to those. But otherwise, find somebody else in your family or on your team or in your neighborhood and say, hey, let's do this together. You can be walking buddies or whatever. It's nice to have somebody to talk to about it, especially if it's your first time. So, any questions at this point? Or did we answer them all?
No, I have some questions.
Okay, great.
Okay. So one of them, and I think the answer would be no, but do you drink extra water?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you do drink extra water.
Yeah. You can always add in water. In fact, sometimes as a little, just to mix it up, I liked having just a glass of ice water just for something sort of different.
Okay.
And I think technically the recipe is for 10 ounces of water with the 2 spoons and the 2 spoons. And so I figured, well, most of my glasses are really 8-ounce glasses. So for me, I often make 2 glasses of lemonade, drink those, and then chase it with a glass of water, which I kind of feel like balances out the, the water, probably missing with the lemonade.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I drink water first thing in the morning every day. Usually 3 glasses of water just kind of gets things moving, wakes you up. And I mean, it's just a good start to your day every day.
Right. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I asked that. And then if you're, I guess the other question, and I have a couple more, but about working out, you talked a little bit about your energy level. This wouldn't be me as much as, my husband, but someone who's used to, riding a bicycle or something like that, what can they expect if they start doing the cleanse? And maybe this is in the book. Do you do your normal activity level?
I do. I mean, I work out every day, and I've run a lot of marathons in the past and go to the gym every day. And so I have found, in the past, I would just drink my 3 glasses of water in the morning before I go to the gym. I find, your blood sugar can get down a little bit too if you aren't careful. And so sometimes it is good, like, I'll start my day with lemonade before I go to the gym. Also, keep in mind, a lot of times right after you're drinking, especially if you're doing like 2 or 3 glasses at a time, it's like, okay, you may have to go to the bathroom, and when you have to go, you have to go right away.
So there's not a lot of delaying.
So I admit, sometimes when I'm running during the cleanse, I don't run as far from home as I otherwise do.
Here's a funny little nugget you can tuck away if you decide to do this. One of the sort of inside jokes that is not a joke at all is never trust a toot.
Yes.
If you understand what I'm saying, if you think it might just be a little gas, you better go to the bathroom, because it's probably not. And especially in the early days, later in the cleanse, that's not as big of a deal, but those first couple saltwater flushes are legit usually.
And the days that you do the salt water, you don't want to drink any lemonade until
First.
after
do your salt water.
Done the salt water and you've relieved yourself.
Okay, great. So I'm curious a little bit about the parsley, because I did get the parsley oil, and that's one oil I have no idea what to do with. So I don't know. I don't want it to be too much of an aside, but Rhonda mentioned that one specifically. So I wondered what I was missing with that.
Well, parsley's a good cleanser. It's a good flush for the body, for the kidneys. So even if you do a quick Google search, you'll see, a lot of different things. But parsley, just think of parsley as a good cleanser. That's, I guess, what I would say. And it's got some, good antioxidants and that kind of thing in it. So
I guess that makes sense when you think of the shape of the leaf and stuff. So, okay.
Does parsley fall into that category like cilantro does of being a chelating herb?
I don't know if it's so much. I honestly don't know if it's considered a chelator or not.
Okay.
I don't know, but I know we use it a lot for the urinary system.
Okay.
Liver, it's just so.
Good.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's helpful. And then, okay, just two other questions. So sometimes, and I have not done cleanses before, but when I've read about them, you read some things about the mucoid plaque or something like that. Is that something that you can expect to see in this cleanse? And I don't know if I'm even saying it right.
I think I know what you're talking about. And I would say towards the second half, I think that's probably normal, Sherry. Here's what is so fascinating to me is that, in the early couple of days, obviously you've got recent food that is cleaning out. What is bizarre to me is that there are still traces of things that you will excrete on day 9 and day 10. And I think that's where you kind of get to the lining of the colon and that sort of thing. So yeah, I would say for me, I have seen that kind of stuff. And I always consider that a victory if we can get to that point, because that means total cleanse then, and we've moved on.
Right. Okay.
Good. Once you finish the cleanse, you guys, something really good to help with that, just as an ongoing thing, in my opinion, is ICP. ICP, and I know the instructions are going to tell you something different, but I would encourage you to use it in the morning. Make sure you get plenty of fluids, because sometimes taking it at night, we don't drink enough water and it can cause constipation. So But ICP, I kind of think of it like little, scrubbing bristles for the intestines. Really, I mean, it's an amazing blend. So.
Good tip.
Awesome. All right. And so here's my last question. So for someone who hasn't done anything like this before and who has sugar and some things, not great in their diet, you were saying, sometimes you have more side effects in the beginning. Is there a benefit to doing a shorter period of a cleanse the first time that you do it? Or are you better off just thinking, okay, I'm going to go all in on this first time and get it all taken care of? Does that make sense as a question?
Okay, I'll start with that.
Okay.
I would say go for this, because here's what's going to typically happen. Even if you did the 5-day nutritive cleanse, if we're a person that consumes a lot of dairy, a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine, things like that, you're going to feel the effects of not having that. Especially sugar and caffeine, like you are going to feel it. And if you do something for 2 days, you're going to feel it. If you do something for 3 days, you're going to feel it. So why not just go into that knowing, okay, the first 3 days of this are probably going to be not the most comfortable days of this month for me, but I'm going to get to where that's out of my system and that's not happening. So, and typically what happens with majority of people is it's either a headache or an upset stomach, or maybe a little bit of both. It's rare that it's really severe and you can't function. So some people get afraid that, oh, I'm going to not function for 10 days and I'm going to have to sit in the bathroom for 10 days. And that's not normal. Okay. That's not. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents, and Skylar and Brian may feel totally different. I have a different perspective on that. And we may have lost them again.
Well, while
That
we're
was very
waiting,
helpful. Thank you so much.
yeah, and while we're waiting for them to come back on, I know the cleanse is with lemon juice. I personally, physically have issues with lemon juice, and I have tried it. I've always done it using lime juice. Do you know, I did my best to research and see if there was any major chemical or whatever other kind of differences between lemons and limes other than flavor. Do you know anything about that? If there's a detriment to using lime rather than lemon?
I have not researched that, but I would think if you physically can't use lemon, then use lime.
Okay.
I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
Lemon and lime are essentially the same thing as far as the cleanse. So a lot of times
Right.
and they've got, I don't know, the big 5-pound bags or 10 pounds, whatever they are, of organic limes, which are pretty economical. Whole Foods can, 99 cents a piece for a lemon. It feels really expensive because you're probably buying like 50 or 60 of them at a time, which will only get you through a few days. But really, when you compare to the rest of your groceries, normally it's actually pretty cheap. But I use limes all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I have a quick question. Young Living has some supplements called Para Free. I was just wondering what would be the best time to use that on a cleanse? Like, is it during or after?
Patristica, personally, I would do the master cleanse, and then if you want to start on the para cleanse after that, I think that's a great time to do that. And you want to cycle it. You want to do 21-day cycles, and you want to do 3 of those to really be effective.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
And you might also want to check out chapter 11 is all about parasite cleansing, if that is something that is plaguing you.
He has some stories of some people getting some, I don't know, surprisingly large parasites out of their body after, like 60, 70 days of the cleanse.
Don't read those stories before you go to bed, okay? Because look at Sherry's face. Oh. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining in this Lunch and Learn. Rhonda, thank you. I appreciate your time and your wisdom. And I apologize that we were in and out a couple of times, but hey, that's life. So happy cleansing. And we definitely want to hear from you when you decide that it's the time for you to do this, because we want to cheer you on. So let us know.
Okay. And thank you for doing this midday. I really appreciate it, because most of our Zoom meetings are at night, and because of health, I'm usually in bed by 7:30. So
no problem. Well,
this noon was great.
Good. I'm glad it worked well for you, Laura.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.